Welcome back to the channel. This is The Casuals. I'm Jin.
And I'm Saki.
And today's episode is Impractical Questions. Now, this is a completely new segment that we've decided to do. Saki mentioned it earlier, or before rather, in our 6-month anniversary video. And it's just, actually, let's start with how you even came about, how this even came about. Would you like to explain?
Sure, just like how I thought of the segment, or just...
Just this general idea of making these questions.
Oh, okay, so there's a funny story behind it. So, at work, I'm not constantly busy, the full 8 hours. So, my brain just kind of goes off on its own thinking of random stuff. And my brain, it comes up with a lot of interesting, I want to say mostly dumb, but interesting questions that I kind of would like to know an answer, just because I'm genuinely curious. And I was like, I wonder if there is an answer to this, or if it's just like so out there, it's just like there is no answer. It's just like, why is your brain, that weird? So my brain was like, okay. So I just started thinking of all these random questions I would kind of, want to know the answer to. And yeah, I think my brain came up with around 150 of these questions.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that means, I have too much free time at work, or my brain is just, not really focused on work and just wants to know answers to random thoughts I have.
Now you gotta you gotta frame it like this. You have a creative mindset. You cannot contain your creativity, so you must ask them in question. If your boss ever happens to see this, we'll make it seem like you're being very creative.
Yeah, I'll put it this way: my mind has to constantly keep thinking, or keep moving. So we'll say it like that.
Hopefully your boss doesn't take this as an insult and be like, you're gonna get more work now.
I mean, I don't know how much you could throw at me. I already do 2 people's work for 1 person.
Oh boy. So yeah, as he said, he came up with a lot of silly questions. And you may be thinking like, well, wouldn't you know about it? No, I only know about 2 questions because he only told me 2 of them in the car ride, and I was like, we gotta save this, and then I was like, we gotta do this for like, a segment on, or we gotta put this at least in our channel, right, where I can live react to it. We didn't know how exactly it was gonna be. At first, initially, we thought maybe we should just do 1 question per episode at the very end or very beginning. But then, Saki said, as he mentioned, he has 150 of them. We're not going to be able to get through all of them. Not to mention, he's constantly making new ones, right? So, at some point, we were just like, all right, let's make this our own. Let's make it a new segment. So we ended up, now we're here. I have genuinely no idea what kind of questions he could possibly throw at me. And so how this is going to work, at least how I believe it's gonna work. This is completely new for both of us. I don't know any of the questions whatsoever. What he's gonna do is he's gonna ask me the question that he has, and I'm just gonna respond immediately what I think, or at least what the first thing I think. And then I may have to stop myself from blurting it out loud if it becomes too quote unquote inappropriate to say right away. Then I would rephrase it. But basically, I'm gonna say whatever I think that first comes to my mind, and then maybe we'll go into deliberations on if it needs to be like on technicalities, or like dive deeper into like what the question could imply. Because as Saki said, some questions could actually be very like make you think a little bit more into what the possible implications could be in a real life situation. So yeah, this is kind of like this is very different from our usual episodes and recordings. So if this seems messy, it probably is because, again, I don't want to rehearse this just because I have no idea what to expect, and I do want to keep this reaction genuine. So, yeah, are you ready with your your questions that you have on hand?
I am ready, and I do want to throw one thing out there. Most of these questions really won't be inappropriate. It's more like dumb. So what you're gonna say, you might like blurt it out, and you're like, and then you like think about it after, and you're like, oh wait a second. Otherwise, it won't be like, oh my gosh, that's like so inappropriate for the, for
For
our
the
channel.
kids.
There might be like one or two thrown in here, but I think I saw one earlier. But don't worry, it's way down the line.
Yeah.
So I guess if you want to get started, I can start. We could start losing a couple brain cells.
All right. Yeah, I'm totally ready. I have no idea what to expect.
All right. So my very first question that I came up with. Oh, by the way, I asked these at work just because I want to know what my coworkers' responses are. So I'm gonna go off the same list. But the first one I ever came up with was which orange came first, the fruit or the color?
The fruit. Wait, no, but then that would imply that the color orange. Fuck, it was the color. Why did I say the fruit? I think it's the color.
See, I thought it was the fruit because, like, what if we discovered the fruit first, and then we're like, we got to give this thing a name.
You know what? It's the same thing. It's the same crux as.
But it could go the other way. Like, what if we, have the color first, and then we came upon the fruit?
Yeah, and I just realized yellow. Yellow exists. Like we know yellow existed way before, right?
Mhm.
So does that mean when they found a banana, were they debating whether they should call it yellow or were they like, yep, this is a banana? Is the same situation with the orange? Like, they were just like, yes, we're gonna call that orange. Because
Yes.
I feel like the color has to have come first just because this would imply like, the same situation as apple and, bananas, they don't call it the color, which is red, yellow, green. I guess lime has its own color, so I guess I'm defeated there.
Yeah, so I'm on Google now too because I'm genuinely interested. It's a kind of a mixed answers. A couple of them are saying the fruit orange came first, but then again, some of them are saying no, the color came first.
I don't think outside of orange, the fruit orange, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think was there anything back in time? Was there any other possible natural substance on Earth that is more readily discoverable that had the color orange before the existence of the fruit?
I don't know. Because,
This
I mean, oranges, the only other orange thing I could think of is like maybe like a pumpkin. Those probably could have been on the planet, how long before humans or whatever.
true.
So I'm genuinely not sure.
Gosh, that's such a good question too. It's like you really have to stop and think about it. Well, it's like did the color come first or the fruit come first, right? Not to mention like the word orange itself, like the existence of the word orange, right? When was that created? I think it's like either one of the two, right? It's when either the color was first discovered or when the fruit was first discovered.
Yeah, it's just which was discovered first, I guess.
Oh my god, dude. And now that I think about it, and as you said, from the Google searches, they're arguing which came first. So that means there's no concrete evidence, at least so far, that we can see, which came first. So does that mean that potentially a college student out there can just go into the rabbit hole trying to figure out which is first, right? And they just go so mad, like, they go absolutely crazy after this, right? That they just become like an insane man because they will probably never find the answer of which came first.
Yeah, we at least I will probably never know, but I think after this episode, maybe our next question episode, I will probably ask our great friend ChatGPT, and let's see what that comes up
Oh
with.
god, the shenanigans.
Because I have to create an account, to use it, and I didn't think of that beforehand. So maybe we'll try it on the next one and see what they think.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, like I'm curious because the only other fruit that shares the color name is lime, if I'm correct.
Limes are green, I think.
Yeah, but like it has its own color code, like lime.
Oh, true. Okay, that's what you meant.
But then again, there's a lot of like But I guess it's not one of the primary colors, you know, like red, orange, or red, yellow, green, blue, purple, you know?
Yeah,
Because like there's technically colors called, coffee, you know?
true.
Um, so I guess orange is the only quote unquote like original primary colors that like exist both as a fruit and a color. And I don't think any other fruit or even vegetable or anything like that shares the same thing, right?
I don't think so.
I mean, the only other one is blueberry, but like
True.
that's not blue. It's just blue. It's blueberry, you know. And they don't call red berries. They don't call raspberries red berries.
True.
So yeah, like I'm genuinely kind of stumped by that, but I guess instinctively I answered fruit, and then right after I was like, wait a minute, no, I think it's color. But then now I'm like backtracking. And I'm just trying to think like what could possibly be the correct answer.
If there even is a correct answer. Some of these we don't know.
Maybe we just need to get a time machine.
Maybe. Anyways, for that question, we'll leave as is. Anyone who watches this has a comment and wants to say, hey, it's the fruit or the color, let us know. We'd love to hear it. Also, this won't be the last of that question. It does appear on question 100,
Okay.
but in a different form, and it's gonna be a little more confusing to understand.
Okay.
All right, so moving on from the orange question, the second one was, if you punch yourself and it hurts, are you weak, strong, or just stupid?
Stupid. because my initial reaction is, why would you punch yourself? Two, you probably know, like, if you're gonna punch yourself, it's gonna hurt either way, because actually, now that I think about it, if you have a strong enough body and you punch yourself and it doesn't hurt, that means you're technically not. Wait a minute, does that mean your body is strong and your punch is weak, or does that mean your punch is strong and your body is strong? Oh my god.
That's the thing. That's the whole point of the question. It makes you think. I do remember one of my coworkers' responses.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "You're all three. You're weak, strong, and you're stupid." So,
a very reasonable response from her, I feel like. Yeah, I think that does make sense. My instinct is, stupid because, why would you punch yourself? That's dumb, right? But I can see where it would go if you're weak, right? If you punch yourself and you don't feel anything, that usually implies if you're weak, right? Or you're quote-unquote weak. However, the same argument can be made is that, like, or the opposite argument could be made is that your body is technically not, like, I mean, your body can, right? But your body isn't normally made to take blows, anywhere. You get bruises, you feel pain, Your body naturally gives you signals saying that, hey, you're in pain, in order to warn you about the incoming danger, right? That's just an instinctive thing that our brain has, or that our body has naturally adapted, just, as people. So I feel like if you've gotten to the point where you punch yourself and you don't feel any pain, that's both very worrying and also impressive, It's like, and it's been proven, like, I guess the only way you could really prove this if you go to, like, those, measuring things where you punch it and measures it. Not like those arcade ones, but like more scientific ones, if they even exist. I would assume they would exist. But if you reach a certain threshold where someone's like, yeah, this could definitely hurt you, then you punch yourself and you feel no pain, I think then you can very well say that yes, or no, you are not weak, your body is just strong. But I think, again, 90% of the time, any normal person who punches themselves would hurt themselves and be like, ow, So I think overall you'd be stupid to try that.
I mean, I don't think there's a wrong answer here.
Yeah, I don't think there's a wrong answer too. Although I would like to point out that naturally, if you're trying to hurt yourself, your body nerves would prevent you from hurting yourself as much as possible. So even if you try punching yourself, I feel like naturally you're gonna soften the blow as much as possible unconsciously, just because your brain's like, hey, don't hurt yourself, you dumbass, like, stop hurting yourself.
Yeah, like, And then if you do hurt yourself, your body's gonna be like, so what did we learn?
What did we learn? And we told you not to do this, now you don't get treats for a week.
Yeah, or now you gotta go spend money on medical bills if you hurt yourself that much.
But I feel like, actually, I don't know, I feel like if you were to talk to those dudes who work out,
Mm-hmm.
and you ask this question, they'd be like, you're weak. If you ask it to a normal person, they'd be like, you're probably stupid. And if you're, I don't know, I feel like, yeah, it just really depends on who you ask, I guess, at this point, right? And then your coworker, she's like, you're all three.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous.
It was a pretty ridiculous question, I do admit, but I was genuinely curious.
All right, I guess into the next question.
All right, so the question after that is, if you're trying to fail and you succeed, did you fail or did you succeed?
You succeeded. Because if you're going with so my instinctive reaction is you succeeded because if you failed, right? I'm assuming I'm assuming you're saying you're going in to fail with the intent. You're going in with an intention to fail on purpose, right?
Uh-huh.
That means you have succeeded because in that way, I feel like succession is actually relative to your mindset, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say you need to move a block point A to point B, right? And your mind says, no, I do not want to move it from point A to B, so I'll make sure that it does not move to point A to B. Therefore, I fail at this task, right? I feel like once you do fail, quote unquote fail, the task from moving a block from point A to point B, you have succeeded in failing that task because you had set that objective, which means you reached that goal. Of that goal that you set yourself up. Even though you may have failed on the outward perspective of you didn't put block at point A to point B, you still succeeded in preventing that from happening.
Very true. I agree. Also, I do remember my coworker's answer to this one too, because I send it to more than one person. I send it to maybe about 5 people, and not everyone said the same thing, but I think 3 of them pretty much said the same thing. You failed successfully.
Yeah, there's a saying called task failed successfully.
Yeah, that's what they probably thought of. So
I wonder what the other argument would be for, because I can only see it that way, right? Because even if you failed at one part, right, and you succeeded at some part, you can still claim that's success.
Yes, that yeah.
So
that
like
sense.
Overall, you can still claim you succeeded at something, right? You didn't technically fail if you set out to fail that task. So, but I wonder what the general argument for the other side would be. It's like, because you failed at that task, right, it is still considered a failed regardless of what you said, right? I guess at this point, would it be, I don't know, I feel like in every real application it would be still a success.
I see. I think I agree with you like that. I don't know if you could say it's a failure because you succeeded at your failure.
Yeah, I guess another point is like, you're given a task to mess up, right? Are you like you in your mind and objective you're thinking to yourself, I must screw this up in order for like the greater good, right? Outwards, for anyone else that does not know about your plan, that does not know about your mindset, right? That would be seen as a failure if you were to like say sabotage, a project or a plan, right? So outwardly you were seen as a failure, but inwardly, or people who know of whatever you conspired to do, that is a success because you successfully thwarted whatever was set out to be done. And so I think really it's a matter of perspective and who knows about your goal. I think that's what ultimately comes into it, because like I think that's why a lot of people would say, yeah, you succeeded, because they know that
We're trying to fail.
Yeah, you were trying to fail, so you succeeded in that because they knew about it. If they had no idea that you were trying to, your initial goal was to fail on purpose, then they would consider you that would consider it a fail because they had no idea that initial thought was behind it.
That does make sense.
So
Again, these questions don't have a right or wrong answer.
yeah. Um, but in my, my opinion, again, these are opinions. These are not right or wrong whatsoever. At least in this case, it's just that because the way the question is framed, right? That we know the intention is to fail, and we do fail. That means therefore we succeed just because we know the intention behind it. So yeah, that's my response.
That makes sense to me.
All right, I guess next question.
All right, so the next one is what happens when an immovable object meets an unstoppable force?
Total destruction. I remember this question being asked a lot. And in both like like kind of like theoretical physics and just in general like memes about the whole like what happens when an immovable object meets an unstoppable force, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the general answer, I think it's almost like the equivalent of making a bomb.
Yeah, my coworker responded with a nuclear explosion, so.
Yeah, because theoretically, if you were to get, this is kind of like what I believe. I could be completely wrong about this. Okay, this is like peak. Like I only read a science fiction book and like watched other films, and I'm making an assumption on this kind of thing, right? This is not based off of any real world knowledge of real physics with theoretical studies behind it. But I would assume is that when you have an unstoppable object and an immovable object colliding together at once, right? Or the unstoppable force, or unstoppable object colliding into the immovable force or object, the atoms, the actual atom particles or atom, compositions of each, force and object would end up colliding each other at such high speeds, right? Or, oh, but actually, that would only take into equation that like this unstoppable force is going at extremely high speeds. Because if it goes at extremely high speed, then I feel like it is safe to say it's going to be a bomb. But if it's very slow, right, like turtle levels of slow, right, there still technically could be an unstoppable force and immovable object, and the unstoppable force is going at like 1 centimeter per year or something like that, But it's unstoppable. You can't stop it from moving. Then. You know what? I think at that point, if it was going that slowly, they would, I think, just meld into each other. It would create a black hole. I think that's what it would have. It would super condense matter and then create a black hole and we'd be done for.
Well, let's hope that never happens.
So for every, object in the world seems to be stoppable and every object in the world seems to be movable. So I think we're safe from that.
For now.
For now. Who knows? Maybe in the future we'll find something. I guess technically a black hole is an unmovable object. I guess. Because black hole literally just is super condensed matter that keeps on swallowing things around it. So would that be considered both an unstoppable force and unmovable object? Because you can't move a black hole. And it's unstoppable. You can't stop it from eating things around it.
That's a great question. Maybe that's another one I asked my coworker.
Is a black hole considered an unmovable object or an unmovable or unstoppable force? Yeah, I just thought about that. Like, that is a good question though, because like again, if you ask that question just as it is, right, it's gonna confuse so many people because we don't know what the speed or what the composition of the unstoppable, force is, right? I mean, I guess if you were to say like, let's say like, naturally it was the unmovable object is like metal, right? And then the unstoppable force is like, oh, I don't know, I guess another metal. Then we would assume that if they're going at a very high speed, it would create like almost like a not electronic field, but like a force field between those two, where like almost sparks could emerge depending on how they beat. Yeah, a lot of theoretical things you could think about. Like you could almost write a thesis on this. I feel like.
I think so, because there's so many different variables in this question.
Yeah. And I feel like, yeah, you can definitely make a thesis on this. Gosh, these are so many good questions.
And that was only number 4.
Yeah. On to the next one.
All right. So the next one deals with your senses.
Okay.
So why does your nose run, but your feet smell?
Because the action of the nose is running, right? And your nose cannot. Oh, what? Oh my god, wait a minute.
Hold up.
Hold up.
Backing up.
Okay, so the reason why your nose runs is because it desperately wants to get away. The mucus wants to desperately get away, and the reason why your feet smells is because your feet is trying to tell you something, saying, "Hey, get a freaking shower." But I guess realistically, the answer would be English. The English language is very confusing for our non-English speakers. And this is a perfect example of it, right? When you hear the words, why does your nose run and why does your feet smell, right? They're like, wait a minute, they're both verbs, right? But they're doing completely different things in different context. And especially for smell, it is both a verb and an adjective, I believe, right?
I believe so. Yeah, you could use it as an adjective.
Yeah, because your nose would smell something, so that's a verb. It's doing an action, and then when you say your feet smell, it's an adjective which describes the state of your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So any non-English speakers would be thrown off by it so hard. They'd be like, "Wait a minute, what?" I was thrown off too because I was like, "Wait a minute, your your nose can run as in a verb, right? But your feet can also smell." That is also, an adjective. But then I was like, wait a minute. Does your feet actually smell something too? Like your feet actively, what your nose does is detecting scents? That's why I kind of got into like, the YouTube loading screen?
Yeah.
Where buffers, buffering, that's what happened right there. I buffered for a short bit. I was like, wait a minute. This doesn't make any sense. What did your coworkers say if they ever answered to that one?
I honestly don't remember what they said to this one. I don't think it was super funny. That's why I don't remember it.
I see. Yeah, I genuinely think that my first instinct is your nose. I mean, like the more like simplistic answer I can think of is like the nose running is like the mucus is trying to run away from your nostrils, and then your feet smell because it's trying to tell you something, saying, "Hey, go shower." Realistic answer again would be English. Just English.
Pure English.
Yeah. So yeah, I have to. That's a whole different topic I want to talk about with like the English language. Maybe we'll have to say this for a special, but yeah, I guess we could do one or two more.
All right. Also, these questions, the more we do, the more ridiculous they get. I do want to add that.
All right.
All right. So this next one is, when you buy something that's made in China, while you're in China, does it have the made in China tag, or does it just say made down the street?
Made in China.
It'll still say made in China?
Absolutely.
But there is a thing I do want to do. I did Google something about this question.
Uh-huh.
Made in China stickers are actually made in Korea. Which is probably why the sticker lasts longer than the product.
I had never known that.
Yeah, I did Google it. Made in China stickers are actually produced in Korea.
Actually, that kind of makes sense because Korea was once touted as one of the best textile manufacturers in the world back then. And unsurprisingly, Korea was a lot of leading. They did a lot of leading in manufacturing before everything moved to China. So it's not actually that surprising that Korea would somehow make the made in China stickers, but at the same time, it's kind of confusing that they, out of all countries, would make the made in China stickers. Because I don't think they have the natural resources from it. Because I'm pretty sure they're getting it. They're getting the materials to make the made in China stickers from somewhere else.
Oh, it's just like a long chain of
Supply.
yeah, just a supply. So the stickers are given to the Chinese, but they're made by Koreans, and then the sticker product was probably given by someone else to Korea, and then
Yeah.
it just it's just a long line of I don't
Ye-
even know what the word is, but there's yeah.
my first instinct was made in China. Like it's gonna say made in China if you're in China, right? And the product was made in China because here in the USA, if something was made in the USA, they would plaster it everywhere. They'd be like, "Fucking America, made in USA," you know. Um,
True.
and I honestly don't think that the Chinese care about where it's made from. Not in a
No.
bad way. It's just like it's the usual for them. A lot of things are
Yeah.
produced in China. They know about it. They're not gonna be like, oh, someone else makes all our stuff for us because that's how we are. No, it's like that's just a natural way their economic state is that they produce a lot of the vast majority of things made in the world. So yeah, I feel like they just stick it on made in China just in a different way. Maybe in English because the stickers are already made from Korea, so might as well, right?
Yeah,
Um,
you never know.
um, so yeah, that one's a little bit easier just because made in USA has been those products exist and they do make it very clear that it was made in USA with like the labels, whatever. So yeah, definitely a good one. I think people would kind of get like people who never really saw anything else, like they never really paid attention to like where it was made from. They would be like, But those who specifically set out to see like where things are made from, it definitely would be like made in like they would just say made in China, like with that option immediately.
All right.
And I guess we go with our last one for now.
All right. So this one's kind of dumb, but it's pretty funny to me. So why are they called buildings if they're already built?
I got so locked.
Kind of like they're already built, so why are they buildings? Shouldn't they be built-ings or something?
You know what? Actually, this might have to do with the translation between like the transition from Latin to English. I feel like
It could be.
I have a feeling it has to be that way because I mean, my brain just thought of this right now where, like, construction's still delayed. They're like, we're building it, right? And then the person's like, fuck it, I'll just live in here anyways. And just called it a building while they're building it.
Yeah.
Instead of it built it, or built whatever, I don't know.
A building.
Yeah. So that would be the dumb answer. But the realistic, for me, like, I feel like the actual answer would probably be there was probably a word for it, in Latin, right? Two separate words, right? In Latin that were very similar for building and like building, like the active way of building it. And then when it was being translated into English, somewhere it got lost and it became synonymous with each other.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, dude, that's such a good question. Like, why is it called building when building itself is a verb?
And it's already built.
Yeah, and then now it becomes a noun with building. That's a head scratcher for sure.
Definitely.
I'm sure. Huh?
I was gonna say I don't know if you want to keep going to 10 because we're on number 8 if we keep going.
You know what? Let's go to 10. Let's go to 10.
All right. Any other thoughts on this building one?
Other than it just stun locked me and stumped me, no.
All right, so we'll move on from that one. This one is, I don't know, I thought it was just funny. So, if revenge is a dish best served cold, and revenge is sweet, then can revenge be considered ice cream?
Absolutely.
Reasoning?
Reasoning? Because after you finish your revenge, you can go have ice cream and get that sweet, taste of victory after.
All right.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I don't even know why
the saying
saying
in
came
there.
out around. Yeah, I'm assuming it's because when they say revenge is best served cold, right? I'm assuming it has to relate with revenge, like, implying that you murdered someone or you killed someone that you want to get revenge on, and then they're cold dead bodies there,
I
Because
never even thought of it that way.
once their body dies, they stop producing heat because their body's no longer functioning. So it loses, after some time, the body becomes extremely cold. Your body actually, like right now, even if you feel like, oh, like you feel yourself, you're like, oh, I don't really feel hot or anything, any temperature difference, right? If you ever, like, I've never done this before. I just only know it because, a lot of shows, a lot of, like, experts and, videos talking about, their experiences with this. Bodies do become cold and stiff very fast if they're just left lying there,
Yeah.
and they stop functioning because your cells literally die actively,
Right.
and so it no longer produces heat. So I'm assuming that's why they say revenge is best served cold. After some thought, is because I'm pretty sure they're implying that it's a dead body.
Okay. What about the revenge is sweet?
I think whoever made that must have been like a freaking ice cream man or something like that. Because I have no idea where that could possibly come from. Maybe an ice cream man got revenge. He's like, yes, revenge tastes sweet as he's like eating his ice cream. I think the only other way is like, there's no other way to describe it as in, because sweet is often associated as happy. And so, like, I guess the implication would be after you've had your revenge, you can now finally be happy, right? So you can taste that sweetness. You don't say like, oh, revenge tastes salty, because that implies that you're still kind of angry about it.
True.
Revenge tastes sour. I mean, clearly, bitter, sour, and those aren't very pleasant. Sounding. So I guess the only other one was revenge tastes sweet. So yeah, that's my conclusion. But definitely, if the revenge tastes sweet and the revenge is best or cold, that's an ice cream man.
I agree. That's why, because at first it was just up to the cold and then the sweet, and then I'm like, you know what? Ice cream. My brain was like, it's ice cream.
100%. I guess we go for our last one.
That was actually number 8.
Oh, okay.
We have 2 more.
2 more? All right.
All right. So this one may be a little bit kind of like the runny nose and the smelly feet one to you. So if you expect the unexpected, does that make the unexpected expected?
No. And so my answer to this is actually, I've actually not thought about this before, but I've come across this kind of situation of when, we expect the unexpected, right?
Right, the saying.
Yeah, the saying. I think it's because when they say expect the unexpected, they're implying, usually it comes with the implication of there's a lot of variables in this. We know it's gonna something's gonna happen, we just don't know what. And when they say unexpected, it means that even though you have a spectrum of, a small circle, let's just say the small circle, and then like, within this small circle, there are this list of possibilities that can go wrong, right? Or something weird can happen, right? That is what we only know of, right? But we know that we don't know what else could happen, and so we're telling you to expect that what we don't know can happen to you, if that makes sense.
Okay. I'm following.
So it's almost so when they're saying expect the unexpected, it's not literally. Obviously, that's not what it's supposed to imply. But like when they're saying expect the unexpected, it's generally more of a warning sign of be on your toes, keep high alert, and we know that there's something out there that we don't know yet, but it can come to our situation eventually. So just be prepared to like meet the unknown.
Okay.
So you're just preparing for the possibilities that haven't happened yet, even though you don't know what's there. So yes, so no, even if you expect the unexpected, that doesn't mean the unexpected becomes expected.
All right. I get you. I get you. People who are struggling with English, I do apologize.
Yeah. Think of it as like the 3 plastic cups and a ball trick,
Okay, yeah, that's good enough.
So you see a cup holding the ball, right? And he closes it and he shuffles around, right? um, you know that there should be two other cups that are empty and one has the ball. But what if the person who is shuffling them, like let's say the magician, right, says there may be just he says there may be a little something extra other than the ball, right? He doesn't tell you what it is. He doesn't tell you if it's even gonna be in there in this shuffling. But he tells you that there might be the possibility of something else other than the ball existing in one of the cups that is one of the other cups that doesn't have the ball, right? Then you can expect something, but you can't. You can expect that there might be something in there, but you can't expect what could be in there because you have no idea what it is. But you still can expect the unexpected.
Makes sense to me, actually. Yeah, that's a good way to put that into perspective.
So yeah, that's just my thoughts. So
All right, and then last one for this episode because it's probably way over our limit. So last one, we'll stop at number 10 for today. Question is, if you describe something as indescribable, haven't you already described it?
No. Because I feel like when you say it is indescribable, right? You are setting the person that you are telling it to that their expectations is I don't know how to word this correctly. But my instinct says no because it's like describing emotions, I want to say, right? And emotions are really complex, right? And generally when things become complex, it becomes harder to describe in a succinct and clear way that someone else can clearly understand what's going on, right? And so if you say it is indescribable, you are still not giving them the full picture. Therefore, it is not described because they have no idea what that indescribable thing is because they're left out in the dark. It's like almost essentially saying, it's almost like trying to talk to, just trying to explain what colors are to a blind person. I feel like, it is going to be indescribable. But just because you say it's indescribable, doesn't mean they get the full picture. Especially when it's a blind person, because again, they have no idea what. Assuming they're blind from birth, they're gonna have no idea what you're talking about because they have no idea what to. There's no reference. There's no no book that they can braille, I guess. There's no like book they can possibly go by and look at and be like, hey, this is what you might be possibly describing or something like that. There's literally nothing that they can reference in order to get what you're at, saying that this is indescribable. So when you say this is indescribable, when you're trying to describe something as indescribable and then you say it's indescribable, that does not mean gosh, saying describe is throwing me off already. It's such a weird word. Now that I think about it, it feels wrong to say describing something, but like, yeah, when you're saying something that's indescribable, then it really doesn't become describable because you still haven't explained the crux of the issue,
I guess, but I mean, you are saying it's indescribable. They don't have to understand it.
That is true.
You're just saying it's indescribable, so you're technically saying I've described what I thought, and it's indescribable.
That is true.
There is also that.
Yeah, that is a very good and valid, point. Gosh, that's such a good one. Especially when you pointed that out, right? You already described what it is, which is indescribable to you, so therefore you already described what it was.
Mm-hmm. And the question is, if you describe something as indescribable,
then yes, in that specific wording, then I believe it would be yes, it is now described. Because you specifically have set out to describe whatever it was, and your conclusion was it is indescribable, therefore it is described.
Brain teasers, huh? Or brain ticklers.
Yeah, I guess it's the same point of view as the what was that one that I talked about? If you failed a task successfully, does that mean you failed? And I think it has to do with more of perspective than anything else, right?
Yeah.
And I think the same thing is here, right? On the receiving end, I feel like you did not describe it, but on your end, it'd probably be like, you actually did describe it because in your own words, you described it.
Right.
I guess if you were to try and look at it in a factual way, I feel like most people would err on the side of you did not describe it. But gosh, that's a hard one too.
And they only get dumber after. They only get dumber and dumber.
But unfortunately, we have run out of time. But man, those were fun questions. A lot to think about, you know.
These are brain ticklers, so yeah, you do have to think a little bit on some of them. Some of them are just like, you know, you could just, give a quick answer like the punching one, but but yeah, some of them you do have to think. Also, whoever's watching this, let us know what you think on all these questions. It'd be fun just to, hear other people's opinions.
Yeah, definitely. As Saki said, just don't be afraid to comment, you know. Again, we're just two normal dudes. We're not some, like, YouTubers or, like, trying to be famous people. We're just having fun, doing dumb things like this. But yeah, we're pretty much out of time. And so I'll end today's episode. So I'm Jin.
And I'm Saki.
This is The Casuals, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.